All right, good morning. How are you guys doing? Good. I am super excited to talk about advanced metrics. Still trying to figure out what advanced metrics are, so I'm hoping over the next 15 minutes, our four experts are going to help clear that up for us. This is fast. If you haven't been to any of these yet, I have a couple questions for them. We're going to go through them. And if we have other time left at the end, I'll open up to all of you. If there's something that maybe had you thinking, we can talk about that. So if you all could, we'll start with you, George, just who you are, where you're from, what you do.
All right. I'm George Arribas, and I'm the head of Treasury Management Client Services for Wells Fargo Bank. I've been in banking for over 31 years with Wells Fargo 25.
I'm Brandon Gerard with Interior Concepts, our national sales manager, and we help companies with call center furniture to help streamline your business and achieve your goals with furniture.
I'm Kelly Harper, Director of Customer Experience at buildasign.com in Austin, Texas. We allow businesses to come online, design signage, pretty much any kind of printed material, and we manufacture it in-house and ship it out.
Julia Poncello, I'm the director of the Learner Support Center at Thomas Edison State College, one of the state colleges of New Jersey. And within the world of higher education, the call center that we've built over these past 18 months is a new entity within higher education, and we have been extremely successful and are very happy to be here at the ICMI conference.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have the four of you here, and if you're ready, we're going to jump right in.
Sure.
So my first question is, do you feel that traditional metrics like service level, average speed of answer, abandon, do they still apply looking at channels like chat, social media, mobile?
So when I think about social media, I think about it from the perspective of dropping out a note, a communication, and then a response. So definitely the response rate on that post is important. But when I also think about chat, it's really about first touch resolution, not first call resolution. So I think we have to kind of start changing our vocabulary a little bit in regards to how can I service that customer in any channel in which they're engaging the bank, and then how do we go through and start monitoring it and comparing it to the different channels and making sure that you understand the customer experience from all different channels and making sure that you are achieving the goal. So if you're trying to offload some of your calls onto a chat channel, you want to make sure that you're giving this higher quality or quicker response in the channel in which you want the calls to go to. And so in some situations, that may not be the case, and you have to recalibrate and understand what that is needed. But I think we have to kind of start changing our vocabulary to first touch resolution.
Great point. Other thoughts?
I tend to agree with George. I think that SLA does apply to social. It's important to have a rapid response. Those posts can be very public, and so it's important to have a sincere response to the customer, and then what we do at Build a Sign is we take that discussion offline typically and handle it one-on-one with those customers. I also tend to agree that we can't look at chat the same way that we look at phone. It's really about trying to optimize your operation, and so if chat's not more efficient than another channel, it may not necessarily be working the way you want it to. So it's important to monitor that.
Great point. Any other thoughts on that one?
Sure, well, having the additional channels for students to reach out to us was important because we know that not all students are learning the same method and not all students want to talk to us in the same channel. So we needed to do that, and yet we also needed to make sure that we were meeting our world-class customer service standards. So we created a scorecard, if you will, for the chat feature, in addition to comparing it to our phone and our email results. And so it's not the exact same analysis, but it gives us the results. Are we meeting the customer's needs?
Yeah, and I tend to agree with all of what you've said. We've got this kind of blend of some of these metrics that have been around really as long as contact centers have been, are there because they stand the test of time, they're proven, they have very good purpose, but being kind of innovative and being on the leading edge of things and measuring new things and new channels might be appropriate. So that actually kind of brings me to the second question. And so thinking about what's on the horizon, and as we look at the emergence of video and we look at what social media and we look at what mobile's doing, what new metrics or what metrics do you see coming out, are you using, are kind of like on the horizon for these new channels?
I'll jump in on that one. I think that I'll focus on social primarily because I think, in general, what I think we'll see is it's easy to collect data. It's not so easy necessarily to analyze it, but I think one thing that we'll see moving forward is more focus on customer-centric metrics where we can tell very interesting information about an individual and how we can tailor their experience based on that information. And so one good example might be clout score on social media. If I have a lot of influence on social media, you might want to prioritize, handling my customer issue maybe over somebody who has 2 friends on Facebook.
So you bring up a really great point that, I mean, not even just social media, but this is our customers in general. We continue to hear about rising customer expectations, rising customer needs, and one of the things, if you're surveying customers, they're saying, I want to feel like I'm an individual. I want you to treat me uniquely, and in some cases, depending on what your business is, that might be, if we have certain people that are influencers, we're going to start with them. And so being able to identify them is a great point. What are other thoughts?
Well, one thing that George mentioned with the first touch resolution, we had to move on chat. We had to move the customer service side of that to our marketing department because the people that were engaging in chat were way more informative. They wanted to ask questions that weren't really specific to a need. They wanted to get information on our product, understand more about our company, and it required a high level of conversation in a very short period of time. And so we had to move it away from just having somebody respond and say, I'll take care of your needs, to somebody who could answer that question right away. And that first touch was incredibly important to move a customer to a new level with us. So I think it's a big factor.
I think the other item when we start talking about chat or video, personalization is really very important. So when you talk about chat, is how do I get that connection? And on the phones side of the house, we always talk about average handle time. But when you start talking about a video or you start talking about a chat, it's like, how long did that session? So the session is really what's important. And then you have to factor in and recalibrate because that may take longer. So if I'm on a video with a customer, we currently don't have it, but this is our journey down the path of how are we going to recalibrate our thought process of saying average handle time should be only 3 minutes, or should only be, because if it's a video, it could be 5 minutes because I'm connecting at a different level with the customer and I'm trying to personalize that experience. So that will take longer. Chat is another area of how do I connect with the customer and making sure that they understand the inflections and that we're caring for them, as opposed to just the voice and tone goes a long way and is quicker to get that relationship and that personalization. In the other 2 channels, that's going to take a little bit longer and you're going to have to recalibrate the handle time.
You spurred 2 thoughts in me, George, and the first one of those is around the idea of the amount of time that the contact is taking. And you will see, if you have not already, that your cost per contact, the average duration of that contact is going to go up. And here's the reason why I say that. As you improve self-service options, and it's easier and easier for your customers to serve themselves, when they need to contact the contact center, it's not going to be those transactional-based things. It's going to be more complex. It's going to be more intricate. So overall, cost in the contact center may be going down, but looking at those individual contacts, we need to be prepared to see that cost per contact and the duration of that contact will go up. If we're doing, it's you might be thinking, well, we're doing the wrong things, but if you're doing the right things in a lot of those cases, that can be an outcome of that. And the second was video. One panelist yesterday was making the comment that with video, appearance now really matters. And so we now have to have a metric based around actual age and appearance. So it's having those considerations. So other thoughts on metrics on the horizon for the new channels?
Well, I was just thinking additionally that the length may also increase as our agents do a better job of pulling more information out of the customer and answering the questions or posing the questions that the customer might not even know they have yet.
Sure.
So bringing in additional information, providing an additional level of satisfaction to the customer during that call would be another reason that the calls may increase.
Yeah, and if you're looking at first contact resolution, sometimes we have to realize that preventing that second contact means that the first one's going to take a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But that would improve your customer satisfaction because then they're not requiring a call back to your staff.
Great point.
I'm going to add to, because one of the things that spurs, and I think is a missed opportunity, is as we move people to self-service channels, I think we do less and less analytics on the back end to kind of track the customer's behavior and what they're doing. And so without having that feedback, and an example would be a customer coming into your website each and every time and gets an error message. If you're not tracking that and bringing that back to the call center or to help the customer to proactively call them saying, I know a solution that you won't have to get this error message, here's what you need to do to fix it, it's something that the customer is not going to expect, but it's something that's going to wow them because we're understanding what they're doing. And I think it's a missed opportunity that we don't do enough analytics on the back end when we move them to the self-service channel.
So my next question, what is the most unique metric that you've seen and the usage of that particular metric? Most unique one you've seen and used?
I think we do something pretty unique at Build-A-Sign. We actually have a program that we call TLC. We used to call it Customer Love. And what we challenge our reps to do is spend a certain amount of money every month on a gift, a personalized gift for a customer that they had a good interaction with. So a good example would be, and we're in a unique position because we deal with people for events, emotional things like weddings, things like that. So we had one good example is we had a customer who made a banner for her 16-year-old daughter who was a leukemia survivor. It was the 10-year anniversary of her beating leukemia, basically. And so we printed the banner, we sent it out, they had a great event, but our rep followed up with a gift that was a survivor bracelet that we sent to the girl, and he took the balance of his budget for the month and made a donation to the Leukemia Foundation. So
that's awesome. That's very cool.
Wonderful. That's wonderful.
I think another metric, so we use first touch resolution, but we look at our average handle time, but we also then measure how long, so we consider a 5-minute rule, saying how long was that customer on the phone, and let's analyze those calls that took over 5 minutes, and why did we take longer than 5 minutes? Only so we can understand is, time is money. We want to get that person the answer as quickly as we can. And what it does help us understand is the coaching for the team members of where are they going to get the information, and are they taking the fastest path to get the information for the customer? And we're able to loop back around and then train the agents on how to get to the answer quicker. So that's another metric that we've kind of added into the process, so we kind of start gauging how long we have customers online. We don't track average handle time at all. I mean, we'll look at it from the management side, but on the agent side, we don't. But we want to do that analytics on the back end, so we're making sure that we're training them the right way to get the right answer the fastest.
Great point, and that with using that metric in particular is really important because it's one that belongs in the contact center, but you gave a great example of knowing its purpose and using it the right way.
Right.
So, great, thank you. Any other on unique? Okay. All right, so I'm going to throw out a lot of acronyms right now because that's what we do really well in the contact center is we just make up acronyms. So here we go. So thinking about customer experience, what's the right blend of NPS, CSAT, WOMI, CES, anything else that's out there? How do we figure this out?
I think that most of those metrics are blends or just variations of something very similar. And so I think the litmus test for almost any metric is, what are you going to do with it operationally, right? Am I going to make any operational change based on what I'm learning here? And so we use NPS at Build-A-Sign, but what we primarily use it for is to find those customer insights and find trends where we can feed that back to our cross-functional teams and say, hey guys, here's an opportunity to improve the overall experience for our customer. This is a consistent trend that we're seeing. It's less about chasing the score and more about using that as a tool to find those opportunities.
If there's nothing else from this panel that you walk away with, walk away with that.
Yeah,
I mean,
great.
that's an excellent point. Thank you.
And also, if your organization is nimble enough to actually input, use the data to influence decisions immediately. So we know that there's an issue right here with this system. We don't need to have a committee to meet about it and then come back together in a month. No, let's get it fixed right now. So that is that cross-divisional support that we need. We need that respect from our colleagues across the college, in my perspective, so that we can implement those changes effective immediately and improve the satisfaction from the student.
And Matthew Dixon this morning actually hit on some good points. You can have all the data in the world, but if you're not measuring it correctly, so if you're thinking getting off a phone call in a shorter period of time is a great thing, but it's really not contributing to your customer having that wow moment, you could be measuring something that's incorrect and moving in the wrong direction just based off of your own data. So it's important to kind of make sure you're measuring the right thing.
Great points.
So it's a blend, right? Customer sat, Net Promoter Score. We use Net Promoter Score, and from my perspective, I'm in a different situation because I manage business-to-business relationships. But the individuals that we are managing are also consumers of Wells Fargo. So what we're trying to understand is, based on the interaction that they have with the customer service on the business side, are they getting the same or better service on the consumer side? So if they go into one of our branches, do they feel like they're going to promote Wells Fargo? And that is the question that we have on our survey. It's not, are you going to promote treasury management client services? Would you promote Wells Fargo? Because we're trying to understand that full experience, and then we go back to our retail side and saying, here's what our customers are saying about the bank, and how do we improve on it? Because then you start having that full conversation of it's businesses, but our business individuals are also our consumers, and we need to make sure we're handling them exactly the same way and at the same customer experience level.
Great points. All right, so my last question for all of you is, how are you seeing technology aid in the collection of new metrics that we're needing, whether it's in the new channels and also just aiding in the collection of metrics across channels like video or social or mobile, whatever it would be?
It's not an amazing piece of technology, but we made one adjustment to our Net Promoter Survey, for example, that kind of speaks to the last point that we talked about. We had the standard question, would you recommend us, and on a scale of 0 to 10, how would you score us? But you had, and where you get those insights is that question, what if we could do anything to improve, what would it be? And we had a lot of unstructured information there, so it's a lot of free-form entry, and you could use text analytics to figure out what's going on there, but what we changed was actually providing a list of issues that we know typically are detractor reasons, and let people self-select, this was my issue, and so that we can find trends very quickly and feed that back to our other teams and say, hey, guys, this week, this is a big issue, have you changed anything, and can we change it back?
Great, thank you.
And you have to have the technology around abandoned chats, abandoned videos, and trying to understand that, because it may not be a bad thing, because a chat session may start, the customer found the information but never went back to close out the chat, and they just went away on their merry way. But it's really about making sure you understand how often does that happen and what occurred. We have to use technology on the back end to kind of look at the sessions, understand what the customer's doing. If we're seeing error messages, we want to see how many customers are hitting that error message and what can we do to resolve it. Because it's important to understand that level in order to rectify it, because if we don't rectify it in our website, then all it does is create a phone call into the center. So it's about paying attention to what's going on in the channel in which you want your customers to use.
And I know with our company, I always do A/B testing. So if you have like a set script that you're always using, set it up so that you can also have something else that you can test periodically to see if a different word. One word could make a difference in hearing it from one person from every company they interact with, and just changing it to something else, and all of a sudden you have a new interaction with a customer that you may not have had if you just kept with the same script over and over again.
And just to draw on that, I would say that something that's critically important too is the ability to have technology at your fingertips that you can use. So it would be great to have all these platforms that are going to provide you with this amazing data, but if you don't know how to use it, if you're having operator error, then it's useless. So you have to have something that's user-friendly. There's no single point of failure. There's many people within the system that can pull the data that you need, that it makes sense across the board, and then you can implement the changes based on the findings.
Great. And I think that's a really good point for us to end on, actually. So George, Brandon, Kelly, Julie, thank you so much for spending some time sharing your thoughts with us. Guys, can we give these a round of appreciation? Thank you.